Absolute on the right heady.
Might be able to get in.
Okay. I'm trying.
Oh, front door.
Front door.
Spawn there, bro. Oh my
I don't know how they
God.
just spawn there.
Bro.
We just
you
killed 5 of them!
Every single lane.
Yeah, well, no one.
Season 1, Episode 3, Esports Analysis here. Icon here. Thanks for checking into another episode. In this one, we have Chicago Huntsmen versus Seattle Surge. So, Arcity's Envoy, Formal, Scump, and Gunless against Apathy, Enable, Octane, Slacked, and Karma. Today, we're playing Hardpoint on the map Gunrunner. And the beginning of this episode, I started because what you ended up watching is a little bit of a misunderstanding that the Chicago Huntsmen had at the very end of that game. As the very first hardpoint in the middle of the map starts this map off, I want to go ahead and kick things off by just kind of setting the record straight. First of all, this hardpoint that's right in the middle is usually just scrap time. If you can get 10, 15, 20 points on this hardpoint, great. If not, the most important thing is setting up spawns for the next hardpoint. With that information in mind, I want to go ahead and bring up this map in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and what you're seeing is the hardpoint rotations on the map Gunrunner. So right now, teams are battling over the one that's in the middle, but as you watch Scump play this map, they're spawning by the 5th hardpoint there, so on the left side of the map, kind of where that blue arrow's at. As this proceeds, they want to go ahead and they want to get behind the 2nd hardpoint, and what you're seeing as this plays out is that Scump is still spawning in that 5th hardpoint, so in no way, shape, or form do they have spawns as they go ahead and rotate into the 2nd hardpoint. Now, as we go ahead and get towards the end of this hardpoint and we start getting towards the 2nd, what you're going to see is something that's very uncommon for the way that this map ends up going. So, right now, Seattle Surge is in the map and Chicago here is going to try to break it. And as they do, Scump goes down early, but if you watch the kill feed on the left-hand side of your screen, it goes entirely blue. So you might have just heard Scump in the background there, but he said good break. He was talking about how well of a job his teammates did breaking that. And this is one of the cleanest breaks that you can hope for. It's not very often where the other team gets control of spawns, they get control of the hard point, and then the team that's approaching them ends up getting a clean break, so all 5 of the enemy team goes down. It was just a fantastic job of breaking that last hard point, but now if you look at the top of your screen, there's only 22 seconds left, and if we're talking about rotations, Scump has started rotating early. So the 2nd hard point was back on the left side of the map, and now this next hard point, the 3rd hard point, is all the way on the complete opposite side. So as we go ahead and we climb on board with Scump here, what you can see is that Huntsman did a great job on that 2nd hard point of building about a 30-point lead, but right now, Scump was the only person that was rotated. So even though he picked up 2 or 3 really nice kills, he was the only person there. Now, right in the middle of this battle, I want to go ahead and I want to stop this, and I want to explain, look at the left side of your screen right now. You can see that Slacked gets a double, Octane gets a kill, and then just a brief second after this, the entire squad goes down. So if you're thinking about hardpoint and the importance of having spawns, if everybody goes down, their entire team is dead at the same exact time, then essentially you would think that the team that's closest to the hardpoint would continue getting those spawns and the entire team that went down would end up spawning out. Well, in this game, and I've heard this a few times from pros, what ends up happening is they get a really weird spawn logic here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the next few seconds, and Gunless spells this out perfectly. So they actually end up spawning behind them. So instead of spawning across the map like at the last hardpoint, at that 2nd hardpoint, they actually end up spawning in the warehouse, kind of where Scump is looking at right now on screen. So in terms of hardpoint as a strategic game, this spawn logic is completely broken. I know that this happens every once in a while, and you might hear pros complain about stuff like this, but there is no way in the history of Call of Duty that this spawn should ever happen. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to play this next clip just 3 or 4 times in a row, and I really want you to listen to the communication. Formal's going to say, I spawn in the back, I spawn in the back. And then Gunless is going to say, okay, well, they're not going to expect this. And by all accounts, he's exactly right. This is an entirely broken spawn. Here you go. Go ahead, listen in.
Jerry's water.
Okay, they're not going to know this.
Jerry's water.
Okay, they're not going to know this.
Jerry's water.
Okay, they're not going to know this.
So hopefully me playing that a few times in a row, you were able to pick up on that. This is just something that should not happen in Call of Duty. So that's why some people are so frustrated that there are organizations paying $25 million for entry into the CDL. And then stuff like this is still happening. It just, in terms of the way and how close these games can be, this should never happen. Now, as we're going ahead and we're watching this, Chicago does a terrible job of trying to break this hill. They just can't get through this. So this spawn logic is really dominant if you have control of the hill, but if you're not, there's a couple choke points there that are really hard to break through. So with this one, they can't break through. And moving on, if you're looking at the timer right now, there are 10 seconds left, and they're still trying to get into this hill. So they finally get the little scrap time here, 7 or 8 seconds left. But I want to pause this just one more time to show that now they're late on rotating spawns again. If we look at this map, look at where number 4 is. It's over in cargo, those cargo crates that are right by number 1, and you want to have the spawn that's where number 2 is. It's easier to defend 4 if you're coming from 2 than if you're coming from 5. So what you want to do is, if they have 3, you want to go ahead and you want to push through over to 2 so that you have 2 spawns as you approach 4. So instead of flipping the spawn, they went ahead and they continued to rush that last one, and now they're spawning on the lesser side as they go ahead and they try to get into 4. Now, as we go ahead and we watch this gameplay play out, I do want to preface this by saying that this is one of the lesser in terms of importance of spawns of the 5 hills. Of course, 1 that's right in the middle, and then 4 that's kind of in the middle here. While it's not necessarily impossible to break from the side that Scump is currently coming from, it's definitely harder. Now, what you're going to see again, 5 is super important in terms of spawns. And if you were to hear their listen in right there, they're counting, they're saying that they're spawning out again. So 15 seconds to this, you can see that they're still pushing for the scrap time here, but the 5th hill is on the other side of the map. I mean, just take a look at this map in the top right-hand corner. That is where Scump spawned. If we're talking about trying to win a hardpoint map at the professional level as high as it possibly gets, this is the worst thing that you could possibly do. One single hill like this, losing a spawn this bad, could be the difference in winning a map and losing a map. So as you're watching on screen right here, the Huntsmen try to break this spawn. This is almost impossible. While they're spawning closer, so Scump just spawned by those mine carts that are over there, while he's spawning closer and he gets a couple good kills, it's still really tough to break. Now, this was just a good job of slaying out, but you're going to see as this plays on that it's not really easy to hold this. So while they were able to break it, this is just really hard to hold. So as we advance here, I want to set the record straight again. This is the 5th hard point, which means as we're rotating back towards the first hard point, you want to flip again. You want to be on the other side of the map, kind of where Scump just spawned right now. You want to be on that side so that as you fight over the scrap time for that first hill, you have spawn locations for the second one. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to go into a listen in here, but you can see that they get flipped again.
I have time.
You have time? I smoked it for you.
So good. What's your forest?
Top train.
Yeah, I'm watching my forest.
No one here, Alex, dead.
Pinch me,
Another
P2.
one.
No, he's from P2, there's 2 of them.
Dude, we got him. We got us.
There's 2 there.
We're just letting him flip.
Behind green.
Water.
One's green.
Top crates right side.
One shot green ramp.
Hitting hill. Make sure we're good.
I got one. Green dead.
Great.
I see that. I'm nading over
Look
crates.
at, he's nading over crates.
One at
I got
5,
naded.
one
I
at
got
5.
naded.
Five's not peeking,
Crates
five's
on
not
me.
peeking.
One bathroom dead.
There's a guy crates on me.
I'm getting your bathroom, Dill.
I'm gonna go vet.
Alright. Watching my right. Still.
Crates on me. Apathy crates on me.
Nothing middle, nothing middle.
Still crates.
Crates dead.
Bathroom dead.
Hitting crates. I see you can go in there.
Nothing mid
Front
trap.
Front door.
Behind you guys, right.
Cole, 1 bullet, enable.
Underneath train.
Yeah, under the deep train.
Start cutting right, start
Sitting in
cutting
top
right.
train. I'm waiting for you guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to help you,
No,
Dead one.
mid water, flanking bathrooms.
Have your
See him
help.
back right.
Low bathrooms.
I'm back right.
Wait, what's
Yep.
up?
Low bathroom.
Mid bathroom.
Dead.
Nice. More hill.
Back door, apathy. Apathy's backside hill.
On the side, got him on
Two
hill.
back row,
Another one back door, app.
I jumped top. Top octane, he's already watching it.
Top weak.
Kill him top. Aim him top.
Watch my top.
Aim an absolute.
Come in front, enable pushing front.
Dead.
Pushing front. Good job.
Another one top.
Rotating, that's all you guys.
And Hill, Sam, 1 bullet. I was 1 shot, bro. 1
Yeah,
bullet.
one check you. I'll get again if I can.
Oh, got me.
Just rotate. One shot.
Aiming weak and new. Aiming weak and new.
The check's dead.
Yeah, we're good.
Aiming very weak and new.
So hopefully that listen in there, you were able to take something away from it, but essentially they just keep getting flipped over and over again. They keep getting flipped, and if you're looking at the score in the bottom left-hand corner here, it's really starting to go in Surge's favor. So they went from being like 10, 15-point lead, something like that, to now they're up by 80, and this game is slowly starting to slip away. Now, as we go ahead and head into this third hardpoint, while it seems like it's all doom and gloom and somebody's got an 80-point lead and things might be slipping by the wayside, this is the beauty of Call of Duty, is that one hill, controlling one hill, can kind of get you back into the game. So, as we're watching this, Huntsmen were able to get that back spawn, that warehouse spawn, so back in the 5th spawn back there, the 5th hardpoint spawn. And then the beauty of having this spawn is that if you can have that spawn and have control of the hill, this really only leaves one way. So there's one choke point that the enemy team can come from, and it's down by these minecarts here. So they're sitting here, they're spawning in the back, but they're also racking up the kills, so they're getting kills. They get pinched right here, but Scump gets a huge 2-piece. He gets that one, he climbs up on top of this minecart, gets a great 2-piece, and then now we went from being down by about 80 points to, by the time this is over, we'll be down by about 40 points. If we're talking about strategy and we're just kind of refreshing what we talked about through the first round of spawns here, of course, as you're going into 4, which is by these cargo crates that you were just looking at on screen, Scump's running there right now, you want to be on the other side because the choke points from the other way are a little bit more dangerous, they're a little bit more dominant, but if you can slay out, this is one where if you have just a little bit of a slaying advantage, then the spawns in this one, since it's in the middle of the map, they don't really matter all that much. So if you're looking right now, Huntsmen go ahead, they have control of this hard point kind of on and off. If you look at the score in the bottom left hand corner, it's still about 40 points. So even though they're not on the dominant spawn side, since they're controlling the slaying on this side, then it's not really hurting them all that much. And the nice thing about this is that if you still stay on that side of the spawns, then as the hard points rotate back into the 5th hard point, which is one where it can be really dominant in terms of spawns, then you're already advantaged, you're already placed on that side of the map. What you're going to see as these last 2 seconds expire and it rotates into the 5th hardpoint is that to begin here, this hardpoint ends up flipping back and forth quite a bit. So to begin here, Huntsmen have control of it. They know that the enemy team's going to be coming from where Scump's looking. So they're spawning woods, right? So Huntsmen are spawning woods, which means that the other team, Surge, is going to be coming from coal. So the call it is coal, but it's where those mine carts are. And then, so now you can see that this game is pretty close. It's down to like a 6, 7, 8-point game. And then as this takes over, it kind of just goes back and forth. And by the time they end up leaving this hard point, it's down to like 20 points. So this is getting down to the nitty gritty here. So if we're thinking about in terms of strategy, we have 20 seconds left in this back hard point. After this 5th hard point, it goes back to the middle. So kind of that scrap time hard point, the one that's right in the middle, where if you can get 10, 15 points, great, but certainly no team's going to win off of that hard point in the middle. So what you're seeing Scump do right now is that we're in the 5th hard point, and what Scump was just trying to do is he's already trying to watch that right flank so that they can lock down the hardpoint spawns for the 2nd hardpoint. So they were thinking kind of 2 hardpoints ahead, which is what you're supposed to do, but this essentially is what ends up costing them this game. If you look at the mini-map and where Scump's going to spawn here, you can see that they're spawning where they want to be, right? They're spawning in that 2nd hardpoint. And if you look at the score, it's 201 to 231. So what ends up happening is that even though they have spawns, they have to push this middle hill, because if they don't push this middle hill, Surge only needs 15 more points to win this game. So they can't exactly sit back, and then since they can't exactly sit back, what ends up happening is that the spawns get flipped, and that's what ends up costing them the game. Now, as we go ahead and we get into these last few seconds here, this is exactly what Scump was so irritated by at the beginning of this map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to slow this down. Look right now at the left-hand side of your screen. You can see that Arcides and Envoy got 3 kills. The problem is that Karma is still in the back of the map. So while they're getting kills, Karma is still alive. He's alive right now, which means that that spawn might not flip because whoever's playing Anchor, which is Karma in this case, is still back there. So at the end of this game, Huntsmen right now, they're really upset that the spawns didn't flip. But Karma doesn't die back there. Karma's still alive. So even though they pushed up all the way into the hill, if there's still one person at the very back, that's enough to go ahead and control those spawns. Whereas in most Call of Duty games in the past, that probably might have been enough to go ahead and flip the spawns. In this one, Karma was still alive. So if they don't get every single kill, the enemy team's not going to spawn out. And then at the end of this is where they end up getting upset, and Scump screams, and everything kind of goes downhill from there. So while they might not understand it all the way, the game actually performed properly. So with that, Surge is going to go ahead. They're going to get these last few seconds, and everybody's going to freak out. But the game was actually did what it was supposed to do. Karma was still alive. They didn't force him to spawn out, and that is all she wrote. So with that, guys, thank you so much for checking out another video. I hope that you went ahead and you learned something during this gameplay. If you're new around here, about 85% of the people that are watching my videos aren't subscribed. So if you learned something and you're interested in this and you want to follow these as we get into the CDL season, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a like before you head on your way out, and with that, I'll catch you in the next one. See you guys.